So today we're going to be talking about the ongoing obstacle of overpowering opioids, aka the opioid epidemic in the United States. My name is Ashley Varughese. A little background about opioids is it's a class of drugs that includes illegal drugs like heroin, fentanyl, and legally prescribed painkillers like oxycodone, hydrocodone, codeine, morphine, and more. Opioids are chemically related and they interact with the opioid receptors in the body and the brain. They're usually prescribed for like moderate to severe to like chronic pain. They affect the regions of the brain that are involved with reward, thus providing this sense of like well being and euphoria and makes you like feel good momentarily. So there's different types of opioids or synthetic opioids, which are not naturally occurring, like fentanyl and methadone. And an alarming stat about synthetic opioids is that it was responsible for about 28,000 deaths in 2017. So a little bit about the epidemic. It was the opioid crisis or epidemic was coined around the 1990s, and this was because that pharmaceutical companies told the medical community that like, oh, there will be no abuse with prescription opioid pain relievers and everything's fine. So then healthcare providers started prescribing them more. And a few alarming stats, like really alarming stats about opioids, is that in 2017, over 49,000 people died from an opioid overdose. The number of opioid related deaths is 6 times higher in that today than it was in 1999. About 130 individuals die every day from opioid overdose, which is so sad. 81,000 people about used heroin for the first time in 2017. 21 to 29% of people who are prescribed opioids abuse them. The opioid epidemic has led to this rising incidence of neonatal abstinence syndrome because they use it during pregnancy, as well as the spread of diseases like HIV and hepatitis C. So the article that we're going to focus on is the opioid epidemic impact on orthopedic surgery by Brent J. Morris and Hassan Mir. It's from the Journal of American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons. A little background that they give is that orthopedic surgeons are the third highest prescribers of opioids. The overdose deaths from opioids has increased by 124% in the last and from 1999 and 2007. Opioids are responsible for more deaths than cocaine and heroin combined, as well as suicide deaths and car crashes. So a little bit about opioid abuse is that 1/5 of prescription abusers receive their prescriptions from a single physician prescriber. There's this thing that's coined doctor shopping, which is when like people go to multiple providers to get opioid prescriptions. And there's also an increase in pain clinics, which is also like said to be a contributing factor to the opioid epidemic and abuse. And pain clinics are also sometimes called pill mills because the way that they give out controlled substances is beyond like standard medical practice or discussion. And while there has been an increase in opioid prescribing, there has not been a similar increase in non-opioid analgesics like NSAIDs or NSAIDs or acetaminophenes. On the global spectrum, the US is doing really poorly. This is why we have an epidemic. We're less than the 5% of the world's population, but we make disproportionately the global consumption of opioids. The United States consumes about 80% of the global opioid supply. About 90% of the world's supply is being consumed by 17% of the world's population, which is ridiculous. The U.S. uses an estimated 27.4 million grams of hydrocodone, whereas the combined use of Great Britain, France, Germany, Italy is about 3,000, which is ridiculous. So treatment options include, it's hard to screen for non-therapeutic opioid abuse because pain is subjective. Ways to detect this is with patient history, recognition of aberrant behavior, like they're asking to get their refills, like their things refilled like way too early, prescription drug monitoring programs, and urine drug testing, and so on. There's different tools like the pain medication questionnaire, and there's options available like that, methadone treatment clinics as well. So patient-physician trust is really important as well because there has to be a level of communication between the patient and physician so they can establish a protocol for to be on opioids and to nicely transition into using NSAIDs or acetaminophen to pain instead of opioids. Um, yeah, and yeah, that is all. Thank you for watching.